Hello and welcome to the de facto inaugural of the Institute's digital studio. My name is Bhavna Shrey and today I am in conversation with Head of the Institute, Dr. R.K. Pandit, Director. So welcome to the studio.
Thank you so much. To start with, I would like to thank my students especially and the staff and the faculty who have put a lot of efforts in making this studio, overseeing that it functions, it works in a direction what has been practically thought of. Over and above to thanks to the management that who permitted to go ahead with this expensive project of a studio so that we'll be able to share our expertise, knowledge, information across the various cities and across the different continents so that they will be able to be benefited whatever is positive on this campus.
That's a very commendable sentiment, sir. I'm sure they all appreciate it. Now that we are in this room, I think a good place to begin would be at the beginning. And I'm very curious to know your beginning at this institute because I recently found out that you have been associated with this institute for 35 years, so practically more than 3 decades. If I asked you to align your own journey as an academician and then later as an administrator with the rise of the institute, how would you align it?
Well, thinking positively, I feel that my journey had been very smooth in this institution. I was able to contribute as and when where I was interested to contribute. And I was the luckiest one in that way that the contribution turned out to be positive, whatever the sphere was there, whatever the assignments were there. A journey with an institute was a little bumpy, I may say. I remember the days when I joined this institution was in a different landscape. Most of the things were not in the same order as you younger generations see today. But well, there was a huge knowledge content available with this institution, and I was lucky, and I could spend a lot of time with my senior faculty colleagues of across the departments, across the career, different sections. I could learn many things, and which I am trying to experiment as of now. I didn't mind my journey sitting in the office and learning few things from those who are still, unfortunately, they are my subordinates. But learning was an experience. I tried to learn right from the beginning. I think that learning ultimately paid off, that I am able to steer it in a direction where there is a need as of now in the global scenario as far as the technical education is concerned.
So you'd agree with me if I say that you can't be a teacher if you stop learning. And then over a period of time, I think as you grow as an academician, a huge amount of administrative work comes onto your desk. Do you miss teaching?
Well, I miss it.
Okay.
I can say I miss it because teaching keeps you young. Okay. It keeps you innovative. It practically pushes you towards a direction where you want to learn more and more.
Absolutely.
And I believe in a philosophy that whenever you get a chance, you must express yourself, you must express your ideas, you must express the amount of knowledge or the information which is stored in your mind in a smaller cells, so that it can get transferred to others and it will benefit the others. That's what I am doing it, nothing more than that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I read a query on Quora, which is an online platform for questions. It says that MITS is a government-aided autonomous institute which is also affiliated to RGPV Bhopal. And there was a comment in the comment section saying that's paradoxical. How can you be affiliated, you can be autonomous and you can be government-aided all at the same time? So how would you respond to that?
No, actually, if you see the nomenclature of the institution, we are grant in aid institution. Okay. Right from the beginning, since the inception. Grant in aid institution means a partial funding comes from the state government or the central government to run certain programs. Okay. In 2000 plus onwards, we started thinking in a different way and we went towards the direction of autonomy. Right in the beginning, the autonomy was thought in a different sphere. The autonomy means we can do A, we cannot do B. But slowly and slowly, as the people mindset changed, as the mindset of all of us changed, we jumped in the wagon of being an autonomous institution by the UGC, which was a mandatory fact. Autonomy as such gives you powers to think of your own, do of your own, and deliver of your own, which in turn, as far as the education is concerned, means that we can design our curriculum, we can go ahead with our own curriculum, look into the market demands, try to experiment with the market demands, and when we all these add together, we are able to deliver the students what they really need in the present scenario. And this particular thing, practically when we talk about the autonomy, has practically boosted many things in this institution right from the 2017 onwards. It's a very small journey of 3 years UGC autonomy, but we were able to inculcate a different kind of a culture which can allow the fast and slow learners go simultaneously, which is not available when we talk about a simple institution or an autonomous institution affiliated to university. Well, we are still affiliated to the university because as per the constitution of the country, we cannot issue the degrees. We can go up to the mark sheets. Since the degrees are to be given by the university, we are called as affiliated to the RGPB. Well, as and when we become a deemed university or a university status, we get it, we will be issuing our own degrees. Well, that will indirectly add on many responsibility to us. If I go back to the 2002 or 2003, I remember some of my colleagues had put a lot of questions that we should not go for autonomy. Autonomy will bring bad effects on the institution culture, it will bring bad things. Many negative points were discussed, talked about, but that theory ultimately the faculty of this institute proved it is wrong. That autonomy means a freedom. Freedom means freedom of working. Freedom means freedom of knowledge, freedom of transferring your knowledge, freedom of experimenting it. That's what is autonomy basically.
Absolutely. Also, sir, in that strain, I think freedom of making academic choices, because now we have flexible curriculum.
Yes, we have implemented. We are the first to implement the flexible curriculum, where the concept is very simple. A common man's concept of understanding is that we are not thinking of serving a thali to a student. We are asking him, there is a cafeteria, you choose your menu and you go ahead with it. Menu means he can go across the branches at the minors and he can have honors in the subjects. He can, and at we also are running may not be in that much quantum as of now, but slowly it will go. Value-added courses, any student who finds that he needs some more things, he can join the value-added courses at a very nominal prices and go ahead of learning extra than any other student in any other institution as of now.
Which fulfills your vision of a finishing school and not just a place that gives you a degree. And on that note, sir, one very good thing that has happened is now after 2020 batch should be allowed to go for 6 months internship.
Yes, that will be there. Which was not existing. Which was not existing in many of the programs, other than the architecture and you can say MCA. Students were not allowed to go for a training or internship, you can call it. In fact, that will make them industry ready. They will make an industry. Keeping that thing in mind, we also have started our own internships at the first year and second year levels, which make the students aware about the skills. And skills are both hard as well as the soft skills. Both the skills they can learn across. They can acquire it.
Sir, we also come under TechCube Phase 3 under NPIU. And a lot of talk has been going on about what NPIU and TechCube 3 has done for the institute and how it has garnered certain reviews. I would like to take your view on it. Considering it has given you a vast amount of faculty members who are really young, and this gives you an eclectic mix. So you have one branch of faculty members who are young, who have just graduated, who have just come, it's their first job. Then you have very senior professors. Then you have visiting faculty. You also have ad hoc faculty. as a person sitting on the chair, does it become difficult to manage this eclectic range of people and professionals working under you?
Well, sometimes it is difficult because the aspirations of different groups is different. But keeping in mind the way the technical education in the country is going on, it is very necessary for all of us to understand that in what scenario we are working and what scenario we have to perform. If you take as far as the TCUB 3 is concerned, it is not only the faculty which has joined us 100 around, it is not the other faculty which are already there, very senior here, or younger faculty is there. But moreover, it is very important that to understand that it's a both way process. I take appointment, recruitment, working as a contract. I believe in a philosophy of contractual. Because when we believe in the philosophy of contractual, that means even if we have to work for a very short span of time in an institution or an organization, we must understand that there has to have an ownership. Well, other than that, infrastructure changes have taken because of TCUB 3, that is, no one can say no. But when we did the infrastructure development in this institution as far as TCUB 3 is concerned, it was spread over. It was not in a one vertical, it was multiple verticals. And you can say the studio also came out of the funds from the TCUB 3, partially from the institution. But ownership is necessary for any one of us. The time has changed. You can't think of long-term professional careers in one institution because we have to inculcate somehow the corporate culture of thinking that I have to perform. If I don't perform, I'm perishing myself. That is the mantra behind it of understanding. Rather than the organization will perish, it is an individuals, they may perish tomorrow.
So nobody is irreplaceable anymore. Everybody has to perform and tick boxes, and only when they are worthy can they hold the place.
Yes, definitely, 101%. That I am very clear as far as that is concerned.
No, I get it. Sir, if you'll allow me, I'd like to address the elephant in the room. There's a lot of bad press which is being generated about a certain amount of violence which was recently created by students. And classrooms, they are adrift with discussions of day scholars versus hostlers versus administration versus who supports whom. How would you respond to something which makes anybody uncomfortable when questions such as loyalties and questions such as alignment towards institute arises?
Well, this is a question at many forums I have been asked that why? Not as far as this institution is concerned. Going beyond the politicizing of the things and understanding in a political spectrum, let's take it into something different and differently. We see the students come with a different kind of mindsets, with a different kind of backgrounds. And all of a sudden there is a change when they join the colleges. And unfortunately at the same time, the knowledge level has increased in their mind, but as far as the acceptance of the environment is little less compared to the previous generations. We believe that that the student, if he doesn't cope up with the things surrounding him, he tries to, it's like a pressure in his mind, in his brains, that he tries to push it out somewhere or the other. And they are the reasons for having some kind of a conflicts. But in general, I don't find as such, if I see the graph of the conflicts which used to happen, or the graph as of now is a very minimal. Well, when this vertical started between a boundary between Indochina, or for that matter a Berlin Wall has been constructed, but I'm sure with the changing culture and as we keep on expecting the things to change and as we all together work towards the direction that this Berlin Wall will go one day. The Berlin Wall has to go, and I'm sure maybe in the coming years, you will find no Berlin Wall on this campus.
So historically speaking, Berlin Wall was actually destroyed in a single day. So suddenly people woke up and there was no Berlin Wall. I hope that that sentiment is appreciated.
I believe it. It should happen. It should happen. because
should happen.
it should happen because it's a channelization of minds.
Mhm.
It's a channelization of minds, and brains think very differently.
Mhm.
Individual brains think differently, and as a collective
Mhm.
together,
Mhm.
I think the objective of the students is also to learn. And I believe that if they are not given the proper attention or proper content to understand, they will move towards the other direction. So it is a collective responsibility of the student and moreover the faculty. Faculty has to be proactive more. Faculty has to be more interactive. The gap, the distance between a faculty and student has to be narrowed down. It's exactly like IT has changed the whole world. It has brought each continent so closer that you don't need to go to the places, then you can work on the same project. Same way, if this happens, the day it happens, not in this institution, across the country if it happens, I think we will have the best manpower coming out of these institutions like us. And I'm sure that we were orbiting around some kind of a planet for many years. We have jumped out of it. Now it's the next. I have not seen the mission Mangal, but it has to go out of this gravitational force. This gravitational force, which is pulling it back again.
So from
it will take energy.
Yeah.
It will take energy. That mission may be complete without the energy, but this energy has to. And energy will come from all of you together.
Of course, yes. So you are moving from centripetal to centrifugal while keeping them within the same gravitational zone, so that there is a uniformity between energizing and moving them forward. So can I ask that the establishment of the counseling cell, for one, has been in response to this raising level of sensitization among students for their own health, in terms of not physical but also mental, and to counsel themselves towards becoming something which is not just engineers or good students, but people in general, responsible citizens?
Yes. Being a good human is the first important thing. I think the responsibility at the previous generations lied with the parents, grandparents. As the family disintegrated slowly, and there were smaller sections of the families, parents, kids. So the time they had to spend with the children, the amount of they had to give the contribution towards development of their mind has somewhat reduced. It has reduced. Our intention is not that we need to counsel the students. We need to give that missing component which was there that time, that had to be added here. Because how it can be done, it may not be possible to have through our faculty or through our staff. It is only possible if there is a expertise available on the campus. So keeping that thing in mind, we thought of hiring the expertise on campus to look into the issue of having day-to-day affairs. As there are many ups and downs in the minds, each student, each faculty, staffs, everybody, all human beings, they have to grow. If they have to grow, they have to have a stable mind. If they have to have a stable mind, means they need to know what is right and what is wrong. Choosing between right and wrong, there is a need of counseling. So the counseling has become a mandatory. We have made it a mandatory part of the whole education system also. I may not mind tomorrow there is a regular subject on the counseling in the engineering curriculum. Because at the end of a day, you may start working, you may think of that you will go in an air-conditioned room and work there, but you land up in under 40-45 degrees Celsius temperature and working as an engineer. So your mindset may change that time also. So make them also ready for that also.
It's a very commendable decision. I think these two counselors that we have on campus, Ms. Suman Yadav is expert on clinical psychology, and Ms. Sapna Kumari, I think she is an expert on social welfare. What prompted you to bring these two absolutely varied branches of psychology and psychological conditioning and put them together? They're very interesting choices. I mean, one is core psychology and one deals with the masses. I was wondering as to what happened, what was the impetus behind this combination? They're absolutely far apart from each other.
Well, any administration likes to take a risk.
Okay.
And it is a risk decision making. When you take a risk decision, you wait for time, maybe it works better. because at the end of a day, you had to see how it has benefited the community, how it has benefited at large the society.
Absolutely.
We must not forget about the fact that whatever we do today, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, it's for the society. The kids who are growing up here, looking at the things, understanding the things, they have to go back to the society. And what they will deliver back to the society, it has to be with the healthy mind. So counselors, or rather everybody has to be now a counselor.
Is it mandatory for faculty members also to go for
Yes,
counseling sessions?
definitely. If I feel it, I had to.
I hope everybody is hearing this.
I had asked for the time for counseling me
For
also.
yourself, okay. Okay. So, when you walk into MITS, it doesn't give the impression of being a government institute. The infrastructure is absolutely savvy. We have the studio. We have a digital library also. The classrooms are audio-visual enabled. We have podiums. This is nothing less than next generation. This is nothing less than the sign of technical savvy times. People come here and they are suddenly struck on by, is this a government institute? Is this a government institute? So you are touted as the visionary because you have thought beyond what government institutes go. However, there is a very famous charge कि government colleges में classes में पढ़ाई नहीं होती है because people do not come to classes. Either teachers do not come to class or students do not come to class. Have you looked into this, in this query? Is there any truth to that? And if there is any truth to that, are there any measures to look into that matter?
Well, first of all, let me say that I am not the only visionary. One must understand Madhav Institute of Technology and Science, Gwalior, is linked or associated with the royal family of Gwalior. So when you talk about the royal family of the Gwalior, we must understand that royal family means many things beyond what the capacity is there. Well, for many years it didn't happen, or there was no intention of doing it, or whatsoever. I don't want to go into the past. My idea of making the institution, for changing the overall landscape of the institution, whether it's an in-house or out-house landscape, was that to make the spaces more interactive for the students. Government institutions or government schools, see, it is not only the kind of education you give, it is the kind of environment plus education we give to the students. So we thought of having a great, large, long plan for this institution, in which a student will spend maybe possibly 24 hours on campus and works. That's why we never thought of going for residential blocks, mini hostels or blah 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 or so for that. We thought to create the ambience which is relaxing psychologically. Again, it's a psychological factor. There's a psychological factor. I use the color. The different colors have different impact on the mindset of the human beings. Very shortly or in near future, as we grow, you will find many colors across rather than very drab color, because there is a prototype of thinking about the which is not a colored thing. Second thing, what happened, that we thought that stress should be given towards the laboratories, industry based courses, curriculum in that structure. We have taken many initiatives as far as flexible curriculum is concerned, but we needed the space. So we are coming with a academic block, we call it, but it is going to only house the laboratories, which will keep working 24 hours if you feel it. So keeping it 24 hours working laboratories means more interaction, hands-on, more research, more output, and then we will have our own space in this whole scenario. Today we may be called in first 500. Today only I got some mail, you are in the first 500 in the new institute, but not being in the first 500, may not be in the first one or the first 100, but we will be different, that is, I'm sure. Down the line, somewhere in 2025, 26, this institution will have its own space in the technical education, whether it's an undergraduate education, or master's or research level. That's what I personally feel.
Amen to that, sir. Amen to
yes,
that.
Yes.
If I may ask that question, sir, first year, when you go in a first year class, the ambience of the class is very different than how it is in a final year class. As they grow up, you see a wide variety of changes happening among those students. From suddenly children, they become adults. From aspiring to become an engineer, they become ready to go out and explore those tendencies. As a teacher, and then again as director to the institute, if you had to give one advice to first years and not change a particular trait that they had in first year and continue it till the final year, what trait would you like them to retain?
Well, going back somewhere when I joined this institution, I used to differentiate between the two sections of the students. I say that one section of student is when he joins a technical institution and when he goes home back and returns next day morning, he becomes a professional. And another section is when he comes back again next morning, he is still a student. Maybe because of curriculum, maybe because of the environment he gets it. I somehow feel that the time has come when a kid, a children, student, boy, girl, whosoever, when she goes back or he goes back and comes back in the next morning, he must be professional. So that is the way he has to think. That's the way we all have to deliver to them. That's the way we all have to handle them. Time has changed. And we must not forget that it will keep on changing. And it will keep on changing every day.
Absolutely.
The old thought will not prevail for a very long time. We have changed, but I think if somebody asks me how much change we have done, I say theoretically 60%, practically 40%. When there is a link between what is this theoretically 40%, I said 60% on paper, 40% on reality. When this 50-50 or a 60-60 matches together, I think the first step of achievement will be there. That may be wonderful, and I foresee this may happen in 2020.
Okay, sooner rather than later.
I don't know.
So till 2013, you also were spearheading training and placement before joining Mr. Vikram Rajput. Unlike, again, a lot of government institutes, we have a training and placement cell, we have a training and placement officer. You left it because you had other things to do, or you found that you needed somebody who was professionally ready and capable to work in a corporate industry readiness, corporate management kind of a setup to send students and become a bridge?
Well, this question is a very critical question to answer, in the sense many decisions are made at the administration, not at the individual levels. But I think the choice of Vikram or the training placement officer, whosoever is in this institution, had been a right decision, because maybe once I was speaking to somebody, he said, how much justice you did, because I headed the training and placement cell for a period of 11 years.
Absolutely.
And how much justice I could do? I said, I did 50%, not 50%. There are many constraints. Well, with those 50%, what you say, what I say, the achievements, there had been a couple of years when we had 100% placement, but the number of students was less.
Absolutely.
There was a less to market. And I always looked upon the fact that there should be variety of companies visiting. But taking back to this fact that a student must not think that technical institution means that they generate the jobs. Number two, placement cell does not mean the employment cell. In fact, it must work on the lines that they should channelize their minds, guide them. Look, this is the way options available. I think time has come, which I am going to take up very shortly, that once you pass out, as you say, finishing schools, not a finishing schools like that, but more than that, once they pass out from this institution, they still are tied up with a one platform, that may be platform of the placement, where they can see that all of those who pass out at various levels and various ages and various years are clubbed together and they form a particular vertical. They can help each other to grow and say that, look, we are MITM.
The sense of pride should come in.
That should be there at the end. It is there, but again, there is a need to develop such kind of a system on the campus. It is still there. Yes, I agree to this.
Sir, the place that I come from, we would never see the top management. There would always be dharnas outside the Vice Chancellor's house, but we would hardly see him. On the other hand, here, you have regular student interactions, you also have mentor-mentee interfaces, you also have student feedback systems, and you yourself go and address students. Because I have conducted a few of those interactions, so I know. You also not only do that, you take up further queries and you make them write down their questions and you answer them in your own time. First, where do you find time to do that? Two, is it daunting to address students at such a large scale when they sometimes ask upfront, insolent questions to the head of the institute? Or have you grown a thick skin and you actually enjoy doing that?
Neither I had grown a thick skin. I must say one thing. First of all, you asked for the time. Well, I agree that there is a 24 hours only in a day. But I wish if God would have made 48 hours a day, I could have worked 24 hours not work. I spend mostly 12 to 15 hours working, thinking or doing about the institution. 365 days, except few holidays. That too compulsion because rest of the things will be closed down. I don't want to trouble everybody. The upfront questions from student doesn't bother me. I don't get bothered about it because students asking something or nothing because it's a right. Country is democratic, they have a right. And as far as you say that these dharnas and all that, well, every administration faces such kind of situations. Situation of such nature I also face sometime long back, long, it's enough history. But I take a student as my first friend. If student is not there, I will not be there. We have to ensure that his queries are addressed. I take a certain test, let me tell you. I will reply every student every night after 11:30 if he or she mails me. Sometimes I pass on this buck to here and there just to check that how efficient other person is working or not working. That's the only, otherwise I take up personally any issue, any cause, because they are so minimum in number compared to what it was in the past. Nowadays I hardly get limited number of mails, limited number of queries, because we all together try to make many things very smooth. If you see, enter the ports, you will find that if student jumps here, there, fails here, passes this, how he has to move. That kind of schematic diagrams are everywhere, which helps the students. Simultaneously, everything is readily available with them on the Moodle. Well, I have one question for the students in the sense that they must participate honestly in the feedback system. System can improve only if the feedback system is right and correct. And the number of inputs are more. More the input comes, more the system will be efficient. I think we all are committed for an efficient system. I don't think a single person on this campus that he is not committed. Some can express, some cannot express. That is the only difference.
Sir, I think I have kept you here long enough, so I'll just ask one last question.
Yeah, sure.
And press upon your precious time. So there are a lot of people here, especially because we exist in the middle belt of India and we have a lot of, let's say, economically backward classes. They are slightly reluctant to send their girls to engineering students. They think they will not build good enough careers, ladkiyon ke liye theek nahi hai, what will they do after that? As father to two girls, if you had to respond to all those parents who would listen to us, what would you ask them, what would you tell them so that they can be encouraged enough to send their girls to us?
First of all, it's very important to understand that biologically there is no difference between man and women. Number two, if a society has to grow, it cannot be grown by only man because we have come out from agrarian society to era where there is the industrialization, there is the knowledge era, there is many eras are going on, and as far as this era is coming up now, the future era, where we'll be totally based on thinking on artificial intelligence, where we'll think only and the things will be done, machine learning and all that. So what will happen that there we will be wasting the 40-50% of the sharp minds if we are not giving them the opportunity to work. I personally feel that women can perform better than the men in many spheres. So sometimes there is a question to me also that why there is always women here and there at the strategic positions as far as the decision making is concerned. I believe that they can take up more sincerely and devote time to that more honestly. It doesn't mean that the menfolk doesn't do it. I don't say that. But menfolk have many distractions. So those distractions are not with the menfolk. So distractions sometimes are not good for the institution, are not good for the organizations. So organization, if it has to grow, it has to see that it grows in such a way that people accept not only, they don't only accept it, they love it also.
Welcome it.
They love it also. Not only welcoming, they love it also. Let me press the punchline here, love it also. So loving your own organization means you need to do the things which will be in tune with the organization. This institution has a great vision. Chairman has put forward a big mission for me to accomplish, and it cannot be completed by single-handedly. It has to be by the collective efforts of all, including the students. I disagree with the fact, somebody quoted somewhere, not to mention the name and the person, that a student is not a product. But I disagree with this fact. A student is a finished product that ultimately comes through a process of learning and learning. So unless learning is not there, a finished product will not come. A finished product is a mind.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Extremely enriching and extremely illuminating conversation with you. My name is Bhavna Shrey. I was in conversation with Dr. R.K. Pandit, head of the institute and director. We need to grow and we need to evolve. And in this conversation, I think if you have been paying attention, you'll understand that there are two kinds of leaders. He belongs to both categories. There are leaders who lead from the front, and then there are leaders who sometimes stay back to see that the herd has moved ahead and moved in a healthy manner. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for your